Hi, intrepid viewers. Heartfelt thanks for your birthday wishes. It was just wonderful. Thank you so much. And you'd have to say the best birthday present was from Robert Mueller. It was very thoughtful of him, engineering the Cohen revelations to come out on my birthday. So I want a special shout out to Mueller. Okay, splendid. Now, just before we get into it all, I wanted to say, if there's any new viewers cruising through, it's understood that on this channel, Trump is considered to be a pathological liar, a failed businessman, which is why he had to get into bed with the Russians in the first place, and a sexual predator. So you can't say you weren't warned. So that's our basic starting point here on this channel. So I want to do a full layout today on Trump and December and the Cohen revelations. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, while I'm shuffling, I just wanted to say, Felix Sater, I've been harping on since my very first few videos about Felix Sater. He is individual 2 in the Cohen stuff. Trump is individual 1, Felix Sater individual 2. He is the Russian guy who built the bridges between the Trump campaign and made the offer to Putin for the $50 million penthouse in the proposed Trump Tower. This is the first time a connection directly from the Trump mob to Putin. So we should really thank Felix Sater. Okay, well, here we go. Using the Toth deck, a full Celtic cross, Trump in the next few weeks. Let's have a closer look. Come on down. And here we go. Well. Okay. We have here, it's particularly amusing in the Toth deck. I don't know if you can see it on my rather feeble camera, but they're also called trumps. And there's something kind of weird about that, but you have to like it. Okay, so that is the 8 of Cups, and it is the card of indolence and apathy. So at the heart of his reading is his sheer laziness. So although he has spent a great deal of his life engaged in filthy and corrupt deals, it's his essential laziness both as an executive and as a president that has allowed things to get so out of control here. Right? Now, behind that we have the Knight of Cups, and so the Knights are out there charging around, having the idea behind the Knights is bringing opportunities. This is ruled by Cancer the crab, but this is the Knight of emotions. So if you look at this imagery, this is the Knight in full flight, galloping through the emotional landscape of Trump. Right? So it's also the card being Cups of creativity, and there's been some very creative accounting, and now that his Chicago accountant has been raided, all shit is going to rain down in all directions. I'm loving that. Now, the Lovers, I really don't think it's Trump and Melania. Sorry, digression. What's with the Handmaid's Tale Christmas trees, the blood red Christmas trees, as her husband gasses children on the border? She's a sensitive soul. I think she should have been given an Einstein visa. She is so smart. There you go. But in this context, of course, it's wheeling and dealing. This is the endless deals, and more specifically, Trump and Putin. the Lovers. Well, that marriage hasn't gone very well, has it? It hasn't got past the betrothal stage yet, really. And underneath, on a slightly more serious note, we have the Nine of Swords, and in Thoth, cruelty. It's the endless incidental cruelty of the behaviour of these people that rules them out in terms of any humanity they bring to the table. This is cruelty. Trump is cruel. His sons... Oh, another digression, viewers. Why not? It's still my birthday, really. I'm not going to call them the children anymore. And I'd like to put the word out. I think we should all stop calling them the Trump children. These are middle-aged men who shoot endangered species, who hold up elephant tails and grin as if in some way that validates their masculinity. They are not the Trump children. They are the demon spawn of this hideous creature, your president. Okay, so at the root of this reading is the Nine of Swords, right? Now, let's go back a little bit more, and should we be surprised? I doubt it very much. Let me get this screen right. The High Priestess, the mistress of hidden agendas. So you've got the indolence, the cruelty, the corrupt deals, and the hidden agendas. Well, they're not so hidden now. They are all coming into the light. The High Priestess is a tremendously powerful figure, and in other readings, particularly personal readings, has other interpretations. But if you like, this is the absolute mistress or doyenne of the hidden agenda. But because Trump, Junior and Senior, can't keep their mouths shut, hidden no longer. He should have treated Cohen better. What's on top of this reading? Oh, how totally cute. Love. Why is the love card on top of Trump's reading? One take on it would be that it is the love of his base for him, who will hear no wrong, and even when all this stuff comes out will still stand by him, although as they lose their jobs, as they drop like flies from the opioid crisis, and as their homes get repossessed, they might not be so enamoured. I don't wish that on anyone. It's simply an inevitable outcome of his truly imbecilic deals. But you know what? I don't actually think it necessarily does represent all that. I think it represents the love of money. Right? I think it represents self-love, as I've seen before in Trump readings. It's his own self-adulation that has blinded him to the most basic steps. If you're a candidate for the presidency, you don't keep going with deals with the Russian king of the whole show, Putin. So it could be the love affair between them which turned up as a betrothal here. Maybe it's that. In any event, the love card here, because it's overarching the whole reading, speaks to the strength of his emotional connection to what has gone on. Right? It's another Cups card. Okay. So coming out here a little further... Oh, the Three of Cups, celebration. Let's hope, because it's in the future position, there will be celebration in terms of this whole cabal going under. Right, so look, let's look forward to that. Interesting, all the cups. Cups, 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 cups. We're now dealing with the emotional terrain of the Trump family. Right, so here we go. This is how Trump sees himself in this position, the Princess of Cups. He attracts a lot of bats in my reading. He's got the salamander. These are ancient symbols here, the clam and so forth, where he is convinced he is the pearl in the crown, that he is the chosen one. He's moving in typical dictator fashion to genuinely thinking he's been chosen for this role and that he is the only person who is entitled to this role. It comes back to the self-love, and in this context with someone like Trump, the self-entitlement to the riches and the legacy. This card is about not just this lifetime, but lifetimes to come. In other words, it's a dynastic card, and he sees himself still as the founder of the dynasty. The delusion never ends. What's the challenge to that self-perception? Oh, the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups, yet more cups. So the Queen of Cups, which can be very bountiful, the Princess Diana card and so forth. In this, it's the grown-up version of the Princess of Cups. So this is the more mature version of Trump's self-love as it morphs into this bizarre state of denial, because cups rule emotion, but they also they are the suit in a way of there's a risk of delusion. There's also a risk with drugs and alcohol associated with this many cups. He says he doesn't drink, but he lies about everything. Maybe he's drinking. Even if he's not, the drugs he is taking are impacting and impairing his actual capacity to do day-to-day functions. Now, we know he has a lot of executive time. It's probably impacting on his golf as much as anything. But this emotional stuff, and I'll just tell you what I think also is going on, viewers, with this. I think he's always dealt with people in a transactional manner. Well, not even so much two-way transactional. What can you give me? How little can I give you? Not a winning formula in most people's lives, and he's beginning to realise it's not in his. But because I'm seeing all these cups, including the Lovers and the Queen of Cups, he has emotional relationships with international leaders, right? So he liked Xi personally, so therefore Xi is a good guy. He owes Putin shitloads, so therefore Putin's a good guy. It's this childish emotional reading of other people that is now starting to be seriously undermined. Now, the environment of this reading, the Ace of Discs, money. Mueller has from the beginning done an incredible job with an incredibly complex landscape to work in. And I'm sure his guiding principle, which is probably written up in texta on a huge piece of paper above his desk, is follow the money. The root of this is the money, the path of it is the money, and the undoing of it is the money, the fool's gold. Oh, okay, coming up. Okay, 9 of Cups. Here's a few cups. 9 of Cups. Again, in a personal reading, hopes and wishes can be quite nice. What's going on here? It's also that card of the smug merchant, or often as I see that figure in the Rider-Waite, the slave trader. So it's, in this case, an overflow of that emotion and that delirious inability to actually think rationally. He hasn't got a fragment of a rational brain to appeal to. So what we've seen from Trump more or less until recently, was performer Trump, the apprentice performer, the guy who performed New York Mogul until it all fell over. And now we're seeing the raw emotional Trump. You're going to see a madder and badder person occupying the Oval Office. So, what's coming out further? Oh, this is the one with Trump's hair. The Ace of Wands. He's starting to get these aces in critical places. Right. So this is him, I suspect, emerging with the wand, with the staff, and flailing wildly. But don't you think it's almost a cartoon version of Trump here? So he's going to come out with the big stick. He's going to punish everybody who has ever crossed a footpath anywhere near him. The cruelty card, lest we forget, the cruelty card and his particularly poor brain function means he is going to do some really dreadful and impulsive things. The wands being fire, can also be impulsivity, and he's very prone to the impulse, like cannot control. He has no impulse control. So if it weren't for these recent revelations, this might be scary. But now he's on the ice rink with an old pair of skates. And you know what? They're skating out from under him. And I think he's going to come down heavily on his fortunately cushioned bottom. But it's not going to be cushioned for long. This is Trump going out there, impulsive like we have not seen before. Okay. So, lust. I did say the sexual predator. While these things operate, as we know, every 6 or 8 hours, there's another career-ending revelation. But because we don't live in typical times, the next thing comes along, the next thing comes along. I'm beginning to think it might be possible that Putin himself might be thinking about leaking some of the compromise. This is the card of lust. There is also the Epstein story. Some of you have written to me about it, where there was the procuring of underage girls for these guys in the 80s and 90s. It could be that. It could be coming back to the McDougal and Stormy issues, but there's a sexual component that is about to be unleashed, and I think it might be new stuff. It's coming up in the future. So how do we get our heads around all this? So that raises a few questions, does it not, viewers? So the takeaway from that, the debauchery, the cruelty, the indolence, it's the end of that era. He's got away with it for a very long time. But what I want to know now is the relationship between Trump and Putin. So, do not forget Felix Sater's name, key player, said words to the effect a year or so ago, if I go to jail, Donnie, you go to jail. So let's see what's happening with Trump and Putin. Trump cancelled a meeting with Putin at the G20, and most people, including me, assumed it was because it would look bad, you know, under the circumstances with everything that's happening in the Ukraine, to have a special pally one-on-one. But apparently, I read in a report, the Russians were furious. I thought they'd just roll with that. And the thinking in the Kremlin is, you don't cancel meetings, we cancel meetings. You come when we summon you. And they're furious. This is what happens when you are the designated bitch to a very powerful man to whom you owe vast amounts of money. So I'm going to do a bit on their relationship and then a bit on the other revelations that are coming out. Can you believe it? So, update please. Trump and Putin, Trump and Putin. Okay, what have we got here? Yes, the hidden agendas. Let me get a feel for this. Ooh. Basically, things are going to deteriorate quickly. So in the past, you had the High Priestess with her hidden agendas. You had the parties in Moscow, the abundance, you know, party-hearty, while the compromat was being gathered. Then you have the Knight of Cups. In this case, I suspect Donald, because he just got it. He got 2 of these cards. This is him in this emotional Disneyland. Putin, this is interesting. The 2 of Swords, or the crossroads. On the one hand, he is keeping the public profile of that I am the leader of an extremely powerful country, and even though Russia is on paper not nearly as powerful as the United States, they've always been in this antagonistic ideological relationship. And to a certain extent, Russia has pulled it off by bluff. It has quite a small economy. What money there is circulating is going to the oligarchs. And so by demonizing the West, it lets Putin say to people, look, we'd be doing really well now if it wasn't for the sanctions and if it wasn't for the West. In other words, don't criticize us and the oligarchs. But this is telling me Putin's at a crossroads in how he's going to deal with Trump. He's done with the Mr. Nice Guy, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, Trump publicly grovelling to Putin right through the campaign and his presidency, and Putin nodding in Helsinki and so forth. That's been Putin's plan until now. Now he is at a crossroads. And you wouldn't want an unhappy Putin being preoccupied with how he's going to treat you. Then we have the 8 of Wands, swiftness. So this relationship's going to change suddenly. So in this card, the wands are coming from all directions into the center, which is Trump. In the Rider-Waite deck, you have the 8 sort of wands like spears, but it's always a message of swift change. Okay, let's do a clarifier on the swift change. Swift change. Oh, yes, failure, 7 of Pentacles. So it's literally a very dark card, right? You wouldn't want Putin coming towards you very quickly into this state. In the Trump, in the Toth deck, failure. Now, this is interesting too, viewers, because there's more and more talk that Putin's situation is not as secure as it traditionally was. He's looking at failure at home on some level because people are getting really pissed off with, you know, all the money that the state makes going into these military adventures. They're starting to work out why isn't it being spent at home. So he's looking at failure, and that's going to also make him very antagonistic and more motivated to go for Trump. So the failure card, it's also quite clearly the failure of their relationship. It's actually over now. Yeah, I said 6 months ago it wasn't good, but they've been both playing a game, if you like, to keep them both afloat, and very quickly complete failure. Okay, as Manafort will no doubt know. Now, with I would refer you also, viewers, I did a reading on Deutsche Bank, and it was Deutsche Bank, Kushner, and the whole hot mess. So if you go back through the playlist, you'll see that stuff on Deutsche Bank. But I'd just like to do a recap specifically now on Cohen. Now he's Captain America, how these revelations are going to go down. Mueller has the lot. He secured the scribbled responses from Trump, who famously said, yes, I did them myself. And that has allowed these revelations to unfold in this particularly effective pattern, because whatever happens from here, he has said he had nothing to do with it. So, what will be the reaction, the legal reaction to the Cohen stuff? Oh. Oh dear, oh dear. All right. I've just done a little three-carder. At the bottom, the fortune that they made, right? You know, but it's also the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune. It's destiny now. Now it's going to play out from here. There's no holding it back. The Prince of Swords, the flailing Donald, you know, ultra aggressive, as we will see. We will see another notching up of the aggression, leading to Ten of Swords, ruin. Oh. Well, there you go, viewers. I've actually already recorded a WikiLeaks video, which I was going to put up today, but I had to do this. And I'm going away for a few days, so I want to make sure you've got some videos lined up. And I'll release that after this one. But please keep the comments coming. And if you want a private reading, get in touch with me. And it's a delight to meet you guys on Skype. So gradually I'm meeting more and more of you, and I feel so privileged to have you guys as a viewership. I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, and I'll be back before you know it. Happy birthday to me. What a birthday present. Thanks, Mullah. Bye.